I was thinking about recently the idea of rabbit holes, but like value structure around like hobbies. For example, like you say you're growing up, you're like 10, and you like eat cheese. Like to you, cheese is just cheese. You don't know there are different cheeses. And then you grow up, you turn like 16, and you meet someone who like is like middle class, and they're like, oh yeah, is that mozzarella, or is that blue cheese, or is that this? And you're like, what do you mean? Like, oh yeah, different type of cheeses, and you can prepare them differently. You can have them with crackers, and then you pair them with certain wines. You're like, wine? I thought wine was just wine. Like, no, there's this type of wine, and it's sourced from here. Like, there's like games that you don't even know about, like value structures that have been created like separate from you, which is like, oh, people like get enculturated differently, and they learn like to value where a wine is from, when it was made, and like where a cheese is from, and like it's like a game you didn't even know existed, and then you're introduced to it, and it's like a whole rule system, and it's literally a game. It's like a whole system of rules and structures and settings that you weren't even aware of before this, and you have to get good at it to compete with those in the same hierarchy of that game. So it's just interesting that like as you grow in awareness, because you're ignorant at first, as you grow in awareness you realize, oh, there's a game of this, there's a game of wine, there's a game of cheese, there's a game of travel, there's a game of like all these like enculturated activities, like, oh, you gotta do this. And this is coming from the perspective of someone who kind of grew up uncultured and then had to like become cultured later on in life, and it's like the experience of that culture shock of like, I guess a lot of immigrants might have this, people who kind of grew up in a very LEDC, lower economically developed country. You came to a higher economically developed country and realized there were all these like middle class posh games that you didn't even know existed because you were just focused on survival, and they're living in like this thrival based reality. So yeah, I guess just be aware of like what's relevant to someone else and what's relevant to them, because your value structure isn't shared. It's like the thing you grow up in, the thing you grow up immersed in, that you see like the game, that you see like the value points from, like, oh, you get value if you hang out with this person for 2 hours because there's like a social approval. If this person spends 2 hours with me and gets a coffee with me and we have social contact, it's like I get 15 brownie points of being social, and then this happens. It's like everything is status and games. I don't know, it's obviously this is obvious, but I think when you're a teenager you kind of realize this. You maybe earlier, maybe I'm just having it really late, but like even in my early 20s I just had this big realization that like, everything's a status game. Everyone's playing these like games for power and status, and I didn't see them before. And then I got older and I kind of experienced life, and I met people. I was like, oh, everyone's playing like a status game. People want to be friends with you because they see you as high status, or they perceive you as low status, because they don't. It's perception status games. It's like, oh, I want to associate with this person because they can get me more social contacts, which can get me more travel opportunities so I can post on Instagram more, so then I can be invited to a tea, wine and cheese party, so I can hang out with high value clients, and I can meet people who are high value, and then we can communicate and we can network, and I can be in that group, and then I can enter this tax bracket because this person can get me a job in a higher tax bracket. It's like, it's all like a big status game, and it's all connected in this weird way where it's like, oh yeah, I can utilize this person to get me somewhere else. So yeah, just like, sorry if it sounds a bit like it's not meant to be nitpicky. It's like this realization and like a symphony of ideas where, oh yeah, people are doing things with selfish motivation. Like everything's motivated. Like everyone's doing things with selfish motivations. But like I don't see selfishness as bad. Like you're meant to be selfish. The fact that you eat food means you're selfish. Like humans are fundamentally meant to be selfish. It's just innate. Like you're meant to protect your family over someone else's. Like you see two starving kids, and like your nature, even though they're both starving, it's like you'll feed your kid. I mean, there's obviously a deeper debate. Like you could say like, oh no, feed the other kid and then you can feed your kid tomorrow. Like yeah, that debate could go into depth. I'm oversimplifying it, but still the general concept of like you'd feed your own kid over someone else's kid purely because of like selfish desire. And that selfish doesn't mean bad. It's just you're meant to be selfish. Like you exist. You're literally taking up a place in existence. Like you are selfish innately. It's not like there's no moral judgment on the word selfish itself. It's just, I think people put too much judgment on it. But yeah, you're meant to be selfish. You're meant to eat food for yourself. You're meant to. But like, if you have the option to be altruistic, you might as well. But it's the same idea of like, put your gas mask on before you put your neighbor's gas mask on. Like, you literally stay alive. So then, now that you're safe and alive, now someone else can stay alive because you can put their gas mask on. So it's just this idea of focus on yourself, master yourself, and then you can help others. I was discussing this with someone, and I don't think they were really agreeing with the idea that helping yourself can help others. But I disagree. I think helping yourself can help others, even just through idea influence. I think information can just spread in its own way, and just spreading information to someone could help them, like information they might not have had access to before. So, yeah, just some thoughts. If anything else.